The mayor of KMC on Saturday launched the tree planting component of the Kanifing Environmental Transformation Project KETP at the Fajara Barracks. 30 police officers concluded a week's training on identifying security challenges of hate speech and protecting human rights. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. Welcome back. More than 300 people affected by the recent floods are sheltering at St. Augustine Senior Secondary School in Banjul. Most of them had their foodstuff and shelter destroyed. Our reporter Momodu Gajaga spoke to some of the affected families in Banjul and files in this report.
This was 2 weeks ago when heavy rains caused flooding in parts of the country, including Banjul, which was among the hardest hit areas. The water has now dried up after being pumped into the sea in Banjul. Demba Dibo is one of the affected people temporarily lodged at the St. Augustine School. He just returned to see where he used to call home.
We
are now sheltered at the school after the heavy downpour flooded our houses. We have enough food and water at our new shelter at the school. Aida Sise from Tobacco Road is among those who stayed behind despite the devastating floods.
We
are really affected. Our ceiling was destroyed, but we thank God now that nothing else was.
On a normal day, students would be in class at St. Augustine Senior Secondary School. But as you could see from my background, it is children with their parents. This is how the families lodged at the St. Augustine Senior Secondary School described their condition.
We really suffered when our houses were flooded. All our household goods were destroyed, so they brought us here. Since we were brought here, our condition is good. There is enough food, water and shelter. We have been well taken care of.
The National Assembly member for Banjul North, Modulamin Ba, says a well-coordinated relief effort made it possible to give affected families shelter, food and water.
It is a joint effort, which we really appreciate. And today we can say, Alhamdulillah, that for the beginning of another life, we can say it. We see a lot of improvement in terms of the impact when it comes to all relevant stakeholders coming together, putting politics aside and work towards the interests of the people.
Ibrahim Asise, branch officer of Banjul Red Cross, says they have been monitoring their temporary settlement to make sure that affected families are cared for.
Red Cross solely is responsible for the clinic that is taking care of their health. We have a mobile clinic and a standby ambulance that is provided by the Gambia Red Cross. This mobile ambulance is the one that is doing the referrals to the major health centers and then doing some routine within the communities of people that are affected to get treatment, and then they cannot come to the shelter here.
These people have been sheltering here for over 2 weeks. The water pumping machine at Bone Road is also functioning well and pumping out the water. So far, all the places we visited that were inundated with water have dried up. For now, the question is, how long will these affected families stay in this school, which will reopen for learning in September? Momodu Gajaga, QTV News.
Unfortunate incident there. Our hearts and minds are with those that are affected by the recent floods. And now, as the COVID-19 vaccination campaign continues, officials visited the West Coast region on Monday to check on the progress of the vaccination process. QTV's Loli M. Kamara was with the team and files in this report.
The visit is to strengthen efforts to get at least 70% of the population vaccinated. The team was led by the communications officer at the Ministry of Health, Salifu Toure. The first stop was at the Brikama Health Center, which appears to be almost empty. However, we met this gentleman who traveled quite a distance to get the jab. Ibrahim Toure from Prenyam village took Johnson & Johnson jab. He says it's his first time of taking the vaccine. He explains why he didn't take the vaccine earlier.
I was not in the country at the time. I was in Mauritania when the first campaign was being done. Upon my return, which was around Tabaski, I could not take it. So when I heard about this campaign, I came all the way from Penyam to take it because I want to go back to Mauritania. That's why I'm here.
Buli Toure, district supervisor for the vaccination campaign and desk officer at the Brikama Public Health Office, said currently the ministry is issuing Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer vaccines. He spoke about the turnout.
Yes, so far now the coverage is becoming good compared to how it was at the beginning of the strike, because now the awareness level is increased now. You know, initially we are affected by the social media. There were a lot of misconceptions about the vaccines. But the only thing we can do as Ministry of Health is to sensitize people, which we've been doing. We go to the TVs, we go to the schools and the radios to sensitize people, to inform them that vaccination is not a new thing. It has been existing well before we were born.
At the Brikama Upper and Lower Basic School, the Gambia Red Cross Society volunteers were on the ground, sensitizing students about the importance of the vaccines and its effectiveness. Laming Isise, a Red Cross volunteer, explains.
Though we are here sent by our branch as a representative to help them, together with the health team, to do the sensitization before the campaign team will reach on the ground, to sensitize the volunteers, the students rather, so that they will know the importance of this vaccination, and then like it do not have any other harmful impact to them like they had in society, that when you take it, this is what is going to happen to you. So immediately we leave, then the campaign team will follow on our doors to give them the vaccination.
Mr. Sisse revealed that schools are cooperating and doing better than many communities who are still in denial of the vaccine. It's recommended that children from the age of 12 and above can either take the J&J or Pfizer. So these public health officials are going to schools to administer the shots, and students are willingly taking the jab. Hadiba and Jena Bajata both took the jab at school. They expressed delight at taking the vaccines, saying that their family members have also taken it and that it is safe to do so. Noha Jambang, the Regional Health Operations Officer, Western 2, says vaccines hesitancy and fake social media stories have contributed greatly towards challenges for the ministry in trying to meet its 70% target.
Yeah, we have social mobilizers in each of the districts. They are definitely doing their best in trying to convince some of those people.
Mr. Jamban says to get rid of this disease from our country, the following needs to be done.
There was even a time in the country where food was even scarce, because borders were closed, people were only smuggling to bring food, and that is not sustainable. To an extent, what we have in the country was finished, or was almost finished, and stocks were not coming in. So you understand, how many of our people died from COVID? So these are all impacts of COVID that everyone in this country has felt. So what should Gambians do at this moment is to get rid of this COVID. How do we do that? There are so many preventive measures that we have. We can be wearing masks, we observe social distances, but the beauty is injection has come to give you that immunity. So why not you take the vaccine, save yourself, save your family. We felt the herd immunity in ourselves. We'll get rid of this COVID.
For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
At the height of the coronavirus pandemic, market women were among the most affected economically due to lockdowns, restrictions and social distancing. Jena Bosonko visited Bundu Market to find out the perception of some of the women at the market on COVID-19 vaccination.
Markets were parts of areas the Ministry of Health targeted for awareness raising and vaccination. Market women were adversely affected by the pandemic, especially when they were restricted to operating in shifts, which meant less income. Now that there's a vaccine, are market women embracing it? Astugay took the coronavirus vaccine and says considering the amount of deaths and economic loss due to the virus, everyone should take it. I took the vaccine because it's to protect us from the coronavirus. People should take it without a doubt. I took the vaccine and it didn't affect me in any way. And I haven't seen anyone who took it and he or she is affected. Our Cora, also a market vendor, spoke about the safety of the vaccine because it didn't affect her nor her family after they took it. Since I took the injection, I have been healthy. I want to appeal to those that haven't taken the vaccine to take it so that all of us will be safe. The vaccine is safe and let them not be scared. If you don't take it, your friends who took the injection might not want to associate with you. Sose Judge calls on her fellow women to take the vaccine as the effect of the pandemic are still real. The pandemic has affected our businesses due to restrictions. I agree that it is still affecting us. I am urging my fellow women to take the coronavirus vaccine to protect ourselves. Wow. Despite the support for the vaccine from these market vendors, there were as many as 10 women we spoke to at the Bundung market who are not vaccinated. The Ministry of Health has rolled out another vaccination campaign to vaccinate 70% of the population. Hopefully, those unvaccinated women at the Bundung market and others will be convinced to take the vaccine during this campaign. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Basonko.
From that story, we will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more local news stories. Do stay tuned.
What is the level of damage caused by the recent floods? What has been the role of Gambia Red Cross Society?
They have floodings in Senegal. What did they do?
Some will say that we may have lack of capacity. They had to bring another excavator to take the excavator out. And that too got stuck.
Everybody expects to get the same support. So how do you deal with this? What would be your suggestion? What do you think is a long-term solution?
And they decided not to go but sold the land and then sit in their old homes. And then the following year we have a disaster. How do you go around in terms of how do you identify homes?
We could have triggered that in the planning process. We would have seen action the first few hours and not 1 week or 10 days.
Disaster Management Agency, the executive director is supposed to be here to help us understand what is happening, just to make that clear.
State of Affairs, airing tonight at 9 p.m. on QTV.
Have you been looking for the perfect indoor router with long-range Wi-Fi coverage and faster internet speed connecting all your smart devices? Well, we present to you the QCell Indoor Router, a router that has all you need and much more. For just $4,275, you can get 4G plus internet speed, wide coverage, and connect up to 15 devices. And that's not all. The indoor router can be used for both office and home needs. So, enhance your internet experience with our indoor router. For more info, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunubus, we innovate, others follow.
Welcome back. The mayor of KMC on Saturday launched the tree planting component of the Canifing Environmental Transformation Program, KETP, at Fajara Barracks in Bakau. The project seeks to plant 190,000 trees within the Canifing municipality. More in this report by our Ansumana Eso Nyasi.
Funded by the European Union and jointly implemented by KMC and Peterborough City Council in the UK, this massive project seeks to intensify the fight against climate change and support national environmental protection efforts. With its admirable history as champions of climate change advocacy, Fajara Barracks is chosen for the inauguration and start of this tree planting program. KMC Mayor Talib Ahmed Bensouda says along with the tree planting program, the project will also develop 7 accessible parks with children playing grounds, construct the biggest library in the country's history to the tune of $45 million amongst others.
We will train 193 stewards who will be monitoring the trees to be planted. We will provide the communities with over 10 skip bins to enhance communal waste management systems. we will introduce recycling at the Bakote dump site to promote reuse and circular economy enterprises.
Lieutenant Colonel Klute Mane and Major Armando Jata thanked the KMC and partners for choosing Fajara Barracks as the first beneficiary of this commendable initiative, and went on to stress its importance in mitigating climate change and supporting adaptation needs.
As people with a sense of responsibility will find out that the people living in these barracks, even from the inception, we can know that they are responsible people, because the trees that we are seeing here, some of them are even older than us. And these trees were nurtured and kept by the soldiers who are living here, and it is our responsibility to make sure that those practices are not underrated. We must make sure that they stand alive.
I thank the KMC and kept in partners with Peter Brown's City in the UK and the troops and families of Fajara Barracks. We really appreciate the project committee for choosing the camp to host the inaugurations of the important events of the growing trees, particularly the fruits that are edible. We thank Gambia Armed Forces for endorsing the occasion. We also thank and appreciate the Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces, His Excellency, the President, Adama Barrow.
KEPT project manager Aliu Nyang says the KEPT project is one of numerous initiatives being spearheaded by Council to tackle environmental, social and economic challenges, and urges beneficiary communities to take ownership of this tree planting program.
The tree planting exercise contributes to our national development planning. It contributes significantly to the environment. It's an action taken by we trying to generate a sustainable city where we would have regeneration and the cities would be green. And Kanifing municipality has chosen that track.
The KMC KEPT project is a $180 million project designed to transform the region through the use of sustainable focus on new integrated waste management approaches to drive environmental, social and economic advancement, and has three output areas: waste management, education and tree planting and parks management. Answane Sonyasi for KTV News.
That's impressive. Planted trees today for tomorrow. Now, 30 police officers concluded a week's training conducted by the Turkish National Police on identifying security challenges of hate speech and human rights. Omar P. Jallo has the rest of the story.
The training seeks to build the capacity and expertise of selected officers for effective mitigation of hate speech as a crime and its associated threats, as well as in protecting human rights. In his welcoming remarks, Chief Superintendent Fode Fofana of the Gambia Police Force says as far as police reform and capacity building are concerned, everything the police do is coordinated towards making the Gambia a safe and secure place for all.
This training is very important in pursuit of our vision, our mission, and based on our core values and our constitutional mandate, as you can see on the poster behind the high table.
Mustafa Ayala, the lead trainer from the Turkey Police, revealed that the training's main topics are hate crimes and human rights, which he believes the law enforcement officers can help prevent and protect respectively.
I would like to reaffirm that this has been a productive training activity with significant outcomes. We have shared valuable experiences on countering hate crimes and human rights in policing.
Representing the Turkey's ambassador to the Gambia, Dilara Salmali thanked the participants for their cooperation during the training and expressed the hope that they will share the knowledge gained with their colleagues.
The Gambia, as our brotherly and friendly country, occupies an important place in our foreign policy towards Africa. In this regard, we are developing our bilateral relations in every possible field, including our cooperations between both of our law enforcement authorities in the domain of security and trainings.
Ibrahim Abba, the Assistant Inspector General of Police, said the demands for policing in the Gambia are changing in complexity and diversity, especially with the advent of the newfound democratic freedoms, adding that those closely monitoring crime trends would agree without doubt that inflammatory hate speech is widespread in the country, especially through social media and other electronic platforms.
This training was to build your capacity, or build your capacities and expertise for effective mitigation of hate speech as a crime and its associated threats, as well as human rights compliance and promotion in all policing operations in the Gambia.
Delivering the vote of thanks on behalf of the trainees, Ken Mendy, Deputy Police Commissioner and a participant, applauded the Gambia Police Force for giving them the opportunity to undertake the training and thanked the trainers for their excellent deliberation during the training.
Security is the life wire of any developing country. So it is prudent to train the provider of that security to international standard and best practice.
Officials are optimistic that the training will strengthen the Gambia Police Force in protecting human rights and preventing hate crimes, which can generate anger, cause trauma and panic in society, with the potential of sparking conflicts and violence. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
10-year-old Malik Sise, a resident of Bundung, has been diagnosed with congenital heart disease and is seeking assistance to undergo medical treatment overseas. Omar P. Jallo reports again.
According to his medical report, Malik has been suffering from the disease for the last 8 years and has been on regular follow-ups at the MRC. The hospital has since recommended him to go for overseas treatment due to lack of facilities for the surgery in the Gambia. Here is what the patient Malik Sise has to say. Please help me to regain my house. I can't eat or sleep well. I don't even go to school or play with my friends. Fatu Sano, Malik's mother, says she is appealing for assistance from the government, NGOs, philanthropists and individuals to help facilitate her child's overseas treatment.
We are seeking financial support from any individual or institution that can help to save my son's life. Since my son became ill, we have been having sleepless nights and he suffers a lot whenever it attacks him. Sometimes he experiences breathlessness. He has been battling with the life-threatening disease for a number of years now. We really need help to save his life.
Congenital heart disease is a general term for a range of birth defects that affects the normal way the heart works. Congenital heart disease is one of the most common type of birth defects affecting so many babies around the world. Researchers aren't sure exactly what causes most of these defects, but they think genetics, certain medical conditions, some medications, and environmental or lifestyle factors, such as smoking, may play a role. Anyone willing to help Malik can contact QTV on news@qtv.gm or call 33-33245, 33-33245. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
We wish you a speedy recovery, Malik. Before we end this bulletin, here is a recap of the main news headlines. Following the recent floods that devastated communities and displaced families, QTV revisited St. Augustine Senior Secondary School in Banjul, where more than 300 victims are sheltering. As the COVID-19 vaccination campaign continues, officials of the Ministry of Health visited the West Coast region on Monday to check on the progress of the vaccination process. QTV also visited the Bundu market to find out the perception of some women vendors about the COVID vaccine. The mayor of KMC on Saturday launched the tree planting component of the Canifing Environmental Transformation Program, KETP, at Fajara Barracks. 30 police officers concluded a week's training conducted by the Turkish National Police on identifying security challenges of hate speech and protecting human rights. That's all we have for you in this bulletin. Join us at 10 o'clock rather for more bulletin.